Without further ado, we've got a lot to talk about, of course. This is Hesher, host of the Boiler Room. Bryan McClain himself, as you can see, has residency in, where's that, the Texas governor's office, or is that the White House? Where are you?
We're at the White House, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good trick. You managed to get through a time portal and claw your way in there. I hope you can stay. Maybe you should try to occupy it. You should try to Israel the Oval Office. Just occupy.
It's a pretty nice little breakout room I've got here. I mean, we had a couple listeners a couple weeks ago that didn't like my flag setup, so we fixed it this time. I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to keep this room with just these stars and bars in here, but we'll see.
Just do like the Israelis. Just change the locks and then get some guns and just threaten to shoot them if they try to take their own property back. I mean, that's how it works, isn't it? Here's Adam Clark, Ruckus, host of the Daily Ruckus and other fine programs in the political sphere. Ruckus, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, true story. When I made the, well, it's probably not a true story, you tell me. When I made that graphic that you see behind Hesher there, I asked the AI to make American flags. And for some strange reason, the American flags that it first gave me were white with blue letters and a big, like, star on it. It was weird. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the American flag. And it was like, oh, I apologize. And it fixed it for me. Just kidding. But could you imagine we are this close to that being a reality? I was more focused on today's focus is the gold microphone, which you can see behind Hesher's shoulder on the desk there. I got the nice close up because I've always wanted one of those suckers. Maybe one day, we'll see. But yeah.
What is the significance of the gold microphone? I mean,
well, I'm glad you asked, because Trump is obsessed with this whole gold thing and the golden era, and everybody that comes to visit him brings him a gold gift. And I imagine it won't be long before one of these podcast or grifter types shows up in his office and actually gives him a gold microphone. But it also symbolizes this crossover thing between the podcasters and politics, and the politicians now doing podcasts, and now the vice president of the United States of America sitting in for the recently slain Charlie Kirk on his podcast. And I was guessing that it won't be long before we see the president of the United States filling that role as well. And I'm also guessing maybe the president might bring back, remember the spirit of the old fireside chats that one of our previous presidents is known for doing. I think he might do that. And if he did, it would probably be hosted from the Oval Office or a setting similar to what you see behind Hesher. And it would be most definitely on a golden microphone. Prove me wrong, but I imagine we'll be seeing that soon, Patrick.
Yeah, that reminds me of another golden gift that I think Netanyahu brought to Trump, which was a golden pager. I mean, that kind of gave us the creeps, didn't it? And
did we break that thing open and make sure there were no listening devices in it, by the way?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, God, I mean, I'll bring up a picture of that. But the Israelis planted surveillance devices on Secret Service EMS or response emergency vehicles. Yeah, and they also were bugging other parts of the Trump administration. They put in his first term, we're told Stingray devices were installed to listen to Trump's phone calls and suck in all of his data. You know how the Stingray system works, you guys. And then Boris Johnson, in his book, disclosed that Netanyahu went into his private toilet in Downing Street and put a bug in it, and British services found it afterwards. But imagine the front of this guy to, like, personally, what a gangster, to personally put spyware, spy devices, physical devices to bug the heads of the British and American governments. And this is our greatest friend and ally, right? Right?
They weren't even allowed in the CIA office. There was a brilliant speech done by JS 101, just noted it in the chat. Brilliant speech by John Curico at the 9/11 event that our friend Jason Burmis was emceeing. And he told the story that he's told a few times. I'm sure some of you have heard the stories about how delegates and intelligence people were treated when they would go to Israel. I mean, it was pretty horrible. It was a really pretty horrible kind of thing where it's like, you get invited to some Israeli event and then you come home and your dog's had his tail cut off, and 5 guys have taken dumps in all your toilets and left them there, or like these kind of things, just little, like gang stalking techniques, basically, to kind of just let people know, hey, if you're working with us, we got access to you, we got access to your house, your pets, your toilets, we're sending messages. It's creepy. It was really creepy. Also a big shout out to Dennis Kucinich. Jason posted a segment. Well, he posted all of John and Kucinich's comments there, and oddly enough, it was a 9/11 focused event, but both of their I'd say a main focus of both of their talks were to do with U.S. Israeli, particularly security service relationships.
Yeah, that was an event. I think Tucker Carlson's got a new 9/11 series out. I haven't watched it. I don't know how, what angle it's covering and so forth. But I mean, the fact that he's put that out, that he is, giving that subject airtime, to me is, positive. The debate continues, of course. But this is what we were talking about just before. I mean, look at that. Look at that. And that's supposed to go in the Oval Office. I don't think so.
How many batteries could you fit in that chunk of wood, I wonder?
Yeah.
Yeah. I realize, of course, a lot of us at the time, because it was just pretty much in the aftermath of the exploding pager story. So everybody had to think about and comment on that. And then, of course, the bizarre gold thing and the bizarre tree thing. But everybody forgot about it. At least I don't remember anybody mentioning this. And it kind of just hit me recently. It's a pager. And what are pagers used for? It's to get a hold of somebody and like drop what you're doing. I need you now. And I'm like, what a very strange symbolism there, because it's coming from Israel to the United States. And I'm like, that's the level of the extent of this special relationship, is that we're there for Israel whenever they need us. You know what I mean? But I don't really necessarily see the shoe on the other foot. Not that we would necessarily need them for anything, to be honest. But hey.
Well, the implication is that this is obviously an inside joke, but not very funny, about the Israeli exploding pagers that they sent into Lebanon that killed and maimed hundreds of innocent people, healthcare workers, civilians. Disgusting. And they tried to target Hezbollah with the exploding pagers, and it was seen as this great operation by the Israelis. That, talk about a state terrorist attack. And then that's a cross section of a Lebanese olive tree, or a Palestinian olive tree, that was demolished. So again, another victory lap by the. I mean, it's just sadistic. And so
is he going to give him a piece of the bomb that they dropped on in Iran, that bunker or whatever, allegedly?
Who knows? I mean, that's probably the last gift. I mean, I would not have accepted this, just because it's such a crude and a crass thing. But then that's me. I'm not Donald Trump, but Trump probably may have been amused by it. I don't know. But Kiriakou would be like, let's scan it. And, this is a bug for the Oval Office, basically. Who knows? It could blow up. Could be a threat to Trump. In a way, that's how I'm looking at it. It's kind of a threat, to Trump. But geez, I mean, these people are unbelievable. So, you guys, hate speech. The woke right has revealed itself. Finally, the mask is off. The one we've been talking about, the real woke right, that will do and trample on the U.S. Constitution to protect Israel. They're using this idea of defending Charlie Kirk, Saint Charlie. It's gotten ridiculous. I mean, have you seen the funeral in Arizona? Have you guys seen the procession?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
there's a lot of people there. It's pretty wild. My roommate is actually there. She flew out yesterday to attend, but a lot of people travel from all around the country. Some people from outside the country just to attend this event that has gotten way out of hand as far as the crowds are concerned. And The level of the event is what's called a SEAR, level 1, SEAR. This is something that they would do this for the Super Bowl. So they brought in like all of the people. So DHS, FBI, the Army, and the drones, and all the usual suspects. And they already arrested a certain weird person that showed up allegedly posing as a law enforcement officer. I don't know. There's not much there, but
did he
again,
have a copy of the? Did he leave a copy of the Quran on his rental car?
He just looked like a guy.
Driving license.
He seemed like he just wanted to fit in and look cool, to be honest with you. But he had like a fake badge, and he had like a gun and a knife on him, and I don't know. But they tried to make a big deal about it because before this event, of course, I believe it was the Department of Homeland Security came out and issued a big old boo, we're going to scare you, threaten report, like saying, hey, be on the lookout, be careful, don't go out in large crowds if you can help it. I'm like, right before this big thing, and they're saying like this is going to be a target and that people are going to get hurt, and that they're also going to target. They were very specific and said they were then going to wait till the people from the mass casualty event were going to get to the hospitals, and then they were going to hit the hospitals too at its worst moment. Very specific stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think they're going that far. I think this is more of a symbolic ceremony thing. This is more esoteric stuff. It's more about martyring. They're doing this whole martyring the guy. I mean, literally, people are sharing on their social media. We just passed this van on the way to the Charlie Kirk event, and it's got like Bible passages, but it doesn't quote the Bible. It just says like John 3:16 or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. And then it says like something about Charlie Kirk. And I'm just like, what? Hold on a second. If you're going to throw up the Bible thing, you might as well put up the Bible verse, not the quote from Charlie Kirk, and then attach a Bible, just the number. It makes no. They're really doing this weird stuff with it, and then of course, if you haven't heard yet, Patrick, apparently it was a miracle Charlie saved the people's lives around him, because that bullet was supposed to go through him, but he's the man of steel. Those are the words that they used, exactly like Superman, and he just somehow miraculously had the shoulder plate made of steel and stopped that bullet.
Are you sure it was made of steel and it wasn't made of passports?
Because maybe the same thing that was coating those passports from 9/11. That's what I think.
A new plate that's made of passports that's indestructible. Egyptian passports. So that thousands gather for Charlie Kirk vigil in London. In London, the UK stands with American patriots. Rest in peace, Charlie. I mean, who's paying for that one? Probably Elon, I would imagine, or Israel. So that's all going on, and I mean, I'll bring up some, Arizona stuff. It's gotten ridiculous. The proportions of this. It's and the right, because the left, they're trying to match George Floyd. Okay, and they'll say, well, you did it with George Floyd, so we're going to do it here with Charlie. We're going to lionize, we're going to make him into a saint. We're going to do the murals, the public statues, the sculptures, all that stuff.
Same birthday.
And he deserves it more, because George Floyd was a drug-addicted, drug-dealing criminal and a porn star. And Charlie is an upstanding Christian conservative, so he deserves this deification, if you will. And to me, it's all the same, that political forces are using Charlie Kirk as they did when he was alive. After he's dead, they're using him to squeeze out more political capital and gain leverage through his death or through the narratives that they're trying to wrap around this story before we even have the facts, by the way, motives. It's all very murky. The forensic case, still very murky, but the narratives are crystal clear, right? So this is a huge psyop. If there ever was one, this is so clear, and it's being orchestrated from the White House so clearly, from that level, and from Tel Aviv, as we demonstrated in the first segment, with Netanyahu's personal involvement in trying to shape. Netanyahu came out of the gates. I didn't show that video. And he said, this is when radical Islam and the radical left have come together. And he already tried to project that on the Kirk shooting. No, he did not hesitate. It was like reflexive. And then he comes out with all these denials, which are kind of embarrassing for him. I mean, I would be, but I think this guy's way beyond embarrassment. It's incredible. Your thoughts, gentlemen, on this madness?
I mean, coming out and saying we didn't do it before, like, you know, most of the internet started even questioning it, or at least a percentage of it, it was not a good look. Definitely not a good look. I mean, it's you know, the who stole the cookie from the cookie jar scenario. It's like a child, basically. I didn't do it. I don't know.
To be fair, people were spreading that rumor online, but it was not to the degree of like it hit mainstream headline. Like the common person didn't know. So it was an out of proportion knee-jerk reaction to a bunch of like nobodies on social media. And I was like, but either way, I was just like, who says that? I mean, even I wouldn't even address it. I mean, because these people are not stupid. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this guy's not that bright, Patrick. I mean, don't you think that he or somebody around him understands any of these people, any of these situations? Don't they understand what this stuff looks like? I say yes. So I think that they're doing all of this on purpose. And that's what I can't wrap my head around is why do they do this stuff? Why are they so brazen about it? Do they want us to know? Is the Cynichin, is that the quote? Am I saying his name right? Where it's like, we know that we know, and then they know that we know, and we know that they know that we know, etc. or whatever. That's how I feel about it.
Well, here's this.
Almost.
No, go ahead,
Sorry.
Hesher.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Pat. It's almost as though it's such the obvious conclusion, and the government response from it. It is the obvious conclusion, considering especially the conversational environment on X. Okay, like it is probably the, you know what I mean. It's the nanothermite of this story. It appears to be the primary second option for a lot of people who are trying to come to a conclusion without enough evidence. So, I mean, let's say if it were to be have been an op that was organized by them, you would think that they would understand and be able to predict the way that the temperature, the barometer on X would respond to it. So, I think Ruckus and I and a few number of listeners I've spoken to and colleagues kind of have a concern that this is such the obvious answer. Maybe it's the one they want people to come to so that we can see this kind of response from Bondi and others. It's almost like they're trying to inflame and enrage upon what we're told we're not supposed to say and talk about, but everybody's saying and talking about, well, what would the problem reaction solution? What would the solution part be? Would it be authoritarian clamp down on your First Amendment rights, your rights to travel, your rights to attend school? I mean, if such a thing exists, you know what I mean? It's like, and it doesn't make the theory untrue or true. It just sort of is in the media sphere.
Yeah. Well, you got to get on board with all the, the sort of national collective mourning, if you will. I mean, it's like the Pope died or something. I mean, it's just, Charlie Kirk wasn't a particularly deep intellectual. He was really just kind of, in a way, a conservative carnival barker, a provocateur. I don't, maybe I got a little bit of a viewpoint of what some of his principles are, but he was also contradicting himself a lot over the years. And he's just a young guy. He's 31 years old. And he is meddling with forces of nature in the hundreds of millions of dollars in the billionaire class that is way above his pay grade, despite the lofty, position and turning point, this political action group masquerading as a not-for-profit. I mean, it's just a PAC with an events and a media arm, basically. And it's there to shepherd the young MAGA vote and keep them in the camp of Israel was one of the priorities. Here's the Arizona motorcade. We'll play this. There it is. This is whoever this person is. Arizona motorcade. Charlie arrives at his home. Charlie was loved by millions. Thank you, Arizona, for this tribute. That's my hood right there. I definitely would probably not be attending this one. So yeah, they shut down the major freeways here. I'm not sure, this is like the 101 or something. Yeah, and just an endless motorcade for Charlie. This is quite a long clip. Let's see what else they've got for us. Lots of state vehicles, right? Federal vehicles. How much did this thing cost to put on? I mean, the governor dies. They're not going to get anything like this. So this is just so.
They paid for it from Erica Kirk's GoFundMe war chest.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. You know, I found out she's a millionaire before she married Kirk. They're millionaires. They live in a $6 million home in Scottsdale. You guys ever been to Scottsdale? You know what?
Who's going to take care of them? What will they ever do?
And for the kids, Sean Hannity was pumping out their GoFundMe thing, or Give, Send, Go, saying, "Oh, we got to look after the Kirks." You know.
You mentioned the Pope dying. It's funny, not funny, but the Pope really did die. But we really didn't see a reaction quite like we're seeing here over Kirk dying.
No, not for the Pope. Not for the Pope. So, on the subject of Charlie's wife, some interesting stuff has emerged. I thought I would share it with you, gentlemen, because it's ever so interesting. And it's going to raise a lot more questions. Basil Valentine is in the house. There in the new, the Valentine Vineyards in the Côte d'Azur. Your new French property.
We're in the Dordogne.
How's the winery going?
I'm at my chateau in the Dordogne, as you can see. You know.
Are you going to be producing Chateau Neuf de Pop, or is it going to be?
That's down the road.
That's down the road. So, what are you specializing in here?
Muscat Baume de Venise.
Very nice. Very nice. With a little beefsteak, with that would be extremely nice. So we're talking about we'll talk about the hate speech play by the so-called conservatives here, but I wanted to share this with you guys because I think this is just something not to be missed. And let's bring this up here. Get the details of this coming up on screen. Hold on for a second. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so Charlie Kirk's wife, I don't know if you guys know much about her, about, you know, her background, but I'm telling you, it's not looking good. And why didn't we know this before? Why isn't this being brought up now? So listen carefully, you guys, and tell me what you think after this. This is up at General Patton's Ghost. I don't know who this TikToker is here, this girl. She's American. She's just done a deep dive on Charlie's wife.
Wins Miss Arizona.
Here we go. So let me bring this up. Okay, listen closely, gentlemen. Take notes. And please, anybody, if you want to fact check this, go ahead. But she's got article screenshots on the thing. We can go back and look at this, but it seems to be all lined up. Listen.
2012 wins Miss Arizona, competes in Miss USA, a pageant owned by ... Trump. Okay, want to know something really weird? So she had said in a podcast that she had never competed in pageants and had never done any modeling before until one day she receives an invitation in the mail to become a model and start doing pageants. And the pageants that she started doing were Miss USA pageants owned by Trump. So she modeled for Trump. She was one of Trump's pageant girls. But did you know that she was also a casting director at the same time that she was doing all of this stuff for Trump? Now, she doesn't specify on her website if she worked as a casting director for Trump, but around the time that she was claiming to be a casting director, she also owned a ministry that was working with the U.S. military in Romania. The area in Romania where she was operating this ministry had a bunch of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in the UK, in Israel, and were also being sent to undisclosed private islands. Locals demanded authorities look into it, but they never did. Now, Charlie Kirk really wanted the Epstein files released, but did his wife? Prior to marrying Charlie Kirk, she was a multi-millionaire on her own, and since his passing, she's also amassed all of his wealth, plus an additional at least $5 million in donations. She's currently considered the most powerful woman in the United States, with MAGA fans begging her to run as vice president in 2028. Let's talk about their first date, because it was actually a job interview. Back in 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump had started working with Charlie Kirk had hosted a Turning Point USA opening event for one of the offices that they had opened. And Erica and Charlie Kirk were introduced to each other. Charlie Kirk instantly thought that she was beautiful, but thought that she was really smart. And allegedly, one of their mutuals had suggested that Charlie Kirk hire Erica. I'm assuming it was Donald Trump or someone on his team, because Donald Trump had signed on to work with Charlie Kirk, and Erica was already one of Donald Trump's employees. So it would make the most sense for Donald Trump and his team to encourage Charlie Kirk to hire Donald Trump's employees. Anyways, Charlie Kirk DM'd Erica, invited her for a job interview. The job interview ended up turning into a date, and Erica allegedly had said, "You're not going to be my boss. You're going
to be my husband."
Husband.
Yes, guys, that's a little bit creepy. If all that is true and lines up, obviously we'd have to fact check all that. But let's assume that what she said there, what she's presented there, are all facts. That Charlie Kirk's wife was under Donald Trump's wing, got a random letter in the post saying, "You're going to be a model, you're going to compete in these pageants." I mean, how does that work? And under Donald Trump's kind of pageants, she does look like Trump's type, which is that 80s looking blonde. You know what I'm implying here. But let's be realistic. It just seems, and then the Romanian thing, the child trafficking, Israel connection, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And then begging for on the Give, Send, Go fundraising. These people are multimillionaires, and working class people are giving their hard-earned money to multimillionaires. They've been grifting off the political system for over a decade, and people who don't have money are throwing money at rich people. It's kind of disgusting, but this is how it works these days. People don't ask questions. They just move with the crowd, and you're taught what to feel, taught what emotions to have. Go ahead and Basil, go ahead and weigh in, and then I want to hear what.
Well, we don't know about. I don't know about the details of the romance between Charlie Kirk and Erica, but there's sort of a twinge of the MK Ultra model type scenario about it, the way she was pre-selected, and that she is one of these sort of identikit looking blondes, really. I mean, as I say, I don't pretend to know the details of how they got together or what sort of relationship they had, but as we noticed last week, there was some very, very strange stuff in the immediate aftermath of Charlie's death. She was smirking, very obviously smirking, almost to the point of giggling, in a piece to camera that she did from the studio, I think within 48 hours of his public execution. And then there was another bit of footage where she was supposedly stroking his hand and telling him how much she loved him, or at least telling his corpse how much she loved him. But we didn't see Charlie's face. Now, very often, if somebody's shot in the face or something, that's because they don't, people don't want to see the face. But Charlie was shot in the neck, and there's no reason why his face couldn't have been shown. I'm sure they could have covered up the bullet wound in his neck or whatever. So those two examples of rather odd behavior by her in the immediate aftermath of the event, and she has now been nominated as the potential torchbearer for Turning Point. She is the person that I've seen online recommended as, there's nobody better to carry on Charlie's legacy than Erica.
She's been confirmed as the new CEO. That's not a rumor.
There you go. So do you know what I mean, guys? It's a little bit, I don't want to sound conspiratorialist, but there is something, as soon as I heard that word model and that she'd been pre-selected by the Trump team and all the rest of it, for some reason, MK Ultra came to mind, and also the sort of, the straight-jacketed thinking that goes with that role. Now, as we all know, Charlie was beginning to wake up about the horrors of the Middle East. to some degree, or at least was willing to platform dissenting opinions. But generally, that whole Christian Zionist mindset is a fixed position. You're not allowed to deviate from it, from the sort of eternal sunshine version of the American dream with the blonde wife and the perfect kids and all the rest of it. That's your reality. There's no woo-woo stuff. There's no, do you know what I mean? There's no deviation. There's very limited opportunity for personal growth or evolution. It's, even if not overtly a mind control program, then, you know, subconsciously, in terms of the sort of role you are expected to inhabit, then it's very much a very narrow path where, yes, your thoughts and opinions are heavily censored.
Mm. $500,000 a year as CEO of she'll probably clock in $500,000, maybe more, as a sort of just little bit of passive income, show up, flutter the eyelids, make a few little speeches, some photo ops, and that's it. That's your job done. Bring Ben Shapiro in to talk to the students. I mean, it's just going to be great. You know, what do you think about this, guys? I mean, it's like
well, I mean, I hope Shapiro is sidelined. I don't think the, you know, Turning Point base are going to take to Shapiro in anything like the way they did to Charlie Kirk. I think that what they'll all be worrying about is that Candace Owens and, more pointedly, Tucker Carlson take up the Charlie Kirk mantle, because ideologically those two were originally closer to him than anyone else. Now, both of them have woken up to varying degrees about Israel. And if they're able to get to the base and point out just how horrific the shit show in the Middle East is, then that's, I mean, I saw that's potentially fatal. I saw some rabbi, part of the Republican Jewish Coalition, talking about the danger of Israel losing young people, majority of them under 40s, etc., on the subject of Israel. And he said, we've already lost the Democrats. If we lose the Republicans as well, we're doomed. That footage came to light in the immediate aftermath of Kirk's assassination. So, you know, we'll see. I don't think Turning Point will be anything like the force it was. I don't, you know, it was very much his show. And, you know, now he's gone. The numbers will be down. The interest will be down. I think people will start looking elsewhere, you know, and there's never going to be any, as I think it was Harrison Smith, is it, the InfoWars guy, said, you know, like 9/11, we're not going to suddenly find a gun with Benjamin Netanyahu's fingerprints all over it. I mean, if Israel did do it, would you expect to see it leading as the lead story on the CBS Evening News, you know, on
Never.
the BBC? Of course not. So, you know, like 9/11, JFK, all these other deep events, they've got a suitable patsy and a cover story, and they're going to ram it down your throats until you shut up. But as Hesher said, the conversation on X these days, which doesn't reach what one might call low information people, and there are still large numbers of baby boomers and you know, just non-interested parties, as it were, who do continue to use corporate media as, if not their sole, then their primary news source. So they're, you know, it's probably 60% of the population, and they've been sold the patsy. You're talking on the X sphere, I would say, I'd be interested to know what you think, about 40% of the population would be influenced to some degree or other by what they learn additionally on X and social media. But in terms of the damage done to Israel's reputation from the point of view, you know, the Bill Ackman meeting, the bribe that was offered, the $150 million, so on and so forth, I think everybody's well aware that whoever pulled the trigger Charlie was being very, very seriously pressured in a gangsterish way to stay on the reservation.
I'll hold that thought for a moment, Basil, and we'll go to Hesher and Ruckus in a second. But we're just going to do a thought experiment here with our listeners in the comment sections and so forth. This is over at the funeral processions here in Arizona, the beautiful dry landscape highways of Greater Phoenix. What does this remind you of? I'm just going to play this. And what's the first? This is the Rorschach test for our listeners. That's for Hesher, Ruckus, and Basil as well. But and don't say it out loud immediately, but just give it a few seconds. What does this remind you of? Rorschach test, straight up, this scene here. Hesher.
O.J. Simpson chase.
Hesher wins a T-shirt. Ruckus, I hope you're thinking the same thing.
You wrote it down. I saw it.
I wrote it down, yeah, as proof.
I also had described the Kirk assassination described as a fifth-rate JFK tribute act.
Yeah, see, look at this. Our listeners, our viewers are on the case. They saw the white Bronco. They got the vibe. That's right. OJ I love the fact we're all on the same. We are all vibing on the same page. I love that. That's how great of a listener base we have on this program. Look at them, all of them. I didn't need to say anything. They're all there. Boom, straight in with the OJ. Straight in. Amazing. Thank you, everybody.
Really has everything. It's even got the OJ thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is a bit creepy. Yeah, geez. Oh my gosh. The juice is loose.
Well, you know
That's
what?
right.
So this is
Acapulco Elvis. Look at this. The juice is loose.
Isn't this a case to be made? This is all AI. This is all fake because AI likes to reuse these old images, and they're like, "Well, people are fascinated by watching this vehicle moving on the." Never mind, but maybe.
But it doesn't look. Here's the problem. It doesn't look like a hearse. I mean, it looks more like it's kind of a pickup with a soft top on the back. Is that just me?
Yeah, kind of like reminds me of the old like Suzuki Samurai me and my friend used to roll around in back in high school.
Could be a landscape guy. I mean, a hearse is usually black with a visible, big window in the back. And I guess this is the Arizona version of a hearse.
Well, that's the point. Okay, so there's this huge inversion thing going on. This is what I can't get out of my head. Like you brought up George Floyd, right? And the inversion taking place there between these two characters. Okay, and I'm sure by now you've heard, and I tried to blurt it out, but the people in the comments already know that. We discussed it on Boiler Room, but they had the same birthday, October 14th, different years. But isn't that a little odd too? The thing is that with Erica, she was wearing the white with the little black trim underneath it, the inverted, the white on the black instead of black mourning. And same thing here with this vehicle. It's not a black hearse. It's a white vehicle. Everything is opposite. And I think this is all part of the ritual that we're experiencing right now. However, I don't know how else to describe it. Also, I'm not sold, and it'd be hard to sell me, prove me wrong, as Charlie would say, right? On the idea that this is all like some sort of knee-jerk reaction to his. Oh, he was switching tunes over the Israel issue. This entire thing is too it's too convenient. It's too well planned out. The timing of it, where it took place, how it took place. This was not a knee-jerk reaction, and I think that some of that might actually be injected. We don't know for sure. We hear stories from people that we know, but we're seeing these stories and these reports and like, oh, did you know that he was changing his mind about Israel? That was all news to us till just recently. Like,
well. Let me comment on that, Ruckus.
Okay.
That there's a lot of grounding to that, and the gray zone reporting validates a lot of that. So I think there's a lot of evidence to that effect, multiple sources, and so forth. So the over-the-top overcompensation, overcorrection of the narrative that you're seeing, this gushing over-the-top reflexive reaction to canonize Charlie and turn it into lying in state, bigger than Michael Jackson's funeral and so forth. That would be a natural reaction to try to cover up and flood the zone to push all of these other facts out to the periphery. I mean, we've seen this before. This is what they do. Again, Kurt Boss is taking the Mickey on the Arizona landscape, says it could be on Mars. Many say that parts of Phoenix do look like Mars. So that's true.
Or vice versa.
And it is hot, very hot. Not so hot now. Good weather now. I'm learning so much from you, Patrick. Thank you. That's what we're here for. Swim against the stream says. That's why we're here. Isn't that right, guys? I mean, what else can we say? And a horse-drawn carriage. That would have been a nice touch. There's no spectacle there with a white pickup hearse. I'm not admonishing Charlie and his memory there. I'm just saying, just doesn't look right. It's just an aesthetic comment. I think Ruckus is onto something with the white the symbolism of the white. It's saint-like.
Which I do want to point this out. I guess there's a lot of reports, and I think we'll see more of this. Okay, I'll take the tinfoil hat off again. So the church thing, there's this phenomenon happening, and I think we'll see more of this. That there's an abnormal amount of young people, in particular, will probably be what's reported most, coming to church. People for the first time ever, and in fact, we're already seeing examples of some people who are like streamers on like video game streamers who are like known to be living a sinful life. They're like, this has changed my life. This event has changed. I want to be a spiritual person now. And as a Christian, I'm like, hey, that's great. But we do live in a society and an environment where the vast majority of people who are now going to be rushing into these churches, what type of churches are they going to be going to? Oh, I'm just going to take a wild guess. The we are best friends with Israel type churches. And that might not necessarily be helping. It could ultimately be hurting. Just wanted to point that out.
Well, on that note, Ruckus, let's bring this up on stage here, guys. As Ruckus talks, this is at the funeral. There's a man carrying the cross up Calvary Hill. I mean, look at this.
Nothing can stand against the power of God.
I don't know if you guys have seen this cheesy Christian rock. I just can't stand it. But this is Mario Nafal's Twitter account. Man carrying cross spotted as tens of thousands worship at Charlie Kirk's memorial, says Mario Nafal. So there's some cutting edge journalism there from Mario. I jest. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, Ruckus, there it is right there. That's exactly what so this is the Disney World version of Christianity for the 21st century. I mean, this is what we've been reduced to, is props, stunts, and these sort of public displays.
The Q-level prophetic stuff. There's this one, I think he's a pastor. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Kim Clement, have you heard of this guy or seen this guy? Kim Clement, he made some predictions. Apparently, he before Trump became president the first time, he predicted Trump would be president. He's known for this allegedly. I didn't really know this, but he has some prophetic words, or had some in the recent past, way before this event, involving Erica allegedly, and using her as like this prophetic woman who's going to pour out some sort of oil, which is like some sort of spiritual anointing thing, and like it's going to bring people together. And that was the last thing I wanted to bring up about this weird inversion between her and or Charlie and the Floyd thing. Is the ultimate end result, what happened with the Floyd, is that that really tore this country apart. We were severely divided. And since this event took place, we've all been kind of on the edge of our seats waiting for something to happen, something to pop off. There's all this talk about civil war. I think that's not going to happen. In fact, I think there's going to be a more, like, the accepted thing might be a unity, and we might actually, call me crazy, but it's all going to be a planned demolition, but not a demolition, a merging. We will actually see the uniparty pull its mask off, the left and the right actually start to come together and the country over this stuff. And I think that that's the new narrative that we're going to be going through, and that people, in particular, anti-religious people are going to have a big problem with that. And the dirty administration is still going to do dirty administration stuff. They're still in bed with technocracy. And that leaves hard-hitting journalists like us still getting lumped into the other side just because we have some questions and concerns about any policies coming forth, moving forward. Because to the people who are going to be brainwashed into this, we're all good guys now. We're going to look like evil, satanic people. Can you imagine Ruckus being called satanic? I mean,
well,
like,
look,
you know.
I hear this complaint, especially from people who believe they're on the conservative side or on the right. They're like, I can't support Palestine because Greta Thunberg is supporting Palestine. Oh my God, I don't want to get lumped in with the left. That type of thinking is really that's the road to total defeat. If you care about the issues and not the party politics. And I don't care what people can lump me into whatever fake paradigm they want. We do facts. We're after the truth, and we have a good track record of finding it and sharing that with our audience. And we're not going to change. Period. So all this stuff can change around us. I don't care. We're like a rock in the middle of the river, and we're going to stay there. And our objectives and our purpose has not changed. It's quite simple. You know, if people want to project politics onto you or me or Hesher or Basil or any of our colleagues on this, you know, that's their business, and that will just wash away eventually, because the truth is the truth and the facts are the facts, and eventually they're gonna bear out over time. Now, I want to highlight a comment which I actually don't like this comment. And this is from an account called Dr. Nick Riviera, and it said, the Mossad front known as the gray zone. Well, Dr. Nick Riviera, you know, making a comment like that, I would say that you're a Mossad plant, because the gray zone has broken more stories that have embarrassed, upset, and derailed Israel, deep state, NATO, countless. They're doing, I have to say, outstanding work, more than outstanding work. They're making a huge impact. So for you saying that, you are exposing yourself, Mr. Dr. Nick Riviera, whatever, if that's your real name or not, the cat icon, PFP there. So it's comments like this that, and I feel like I want to go back and look at this person's thread of comments to see what else they're pushing out. But that's a ridiculous and stupid thing to say. I will just say straight up. And because we've shared so much of the reporting on this show, and
Brutally
you know,
Remastered says Aaron Marte, I assume, got something very odd about Syria, though twice. You know,
it doesn't matter. You know, whether they were odd about Syria, you know, while we were supposedly correct on Syria, and many people with some of these other outlets were late to the party, and you get all this stuff. That doesn't really matter anymore. It's done. Syria is toast.
Sure. I mean, you know, Netanyahu actually come out in the week and rebut the grey zones. You know, Max Blumenthal in particular, his research. So, no, I think they're a thorn in the side of the Israelis. And Max Blumenthal was on InfoWars in the week. So there's some interesting cross-pollination going on between left and right. You made the point a moment ago that a lot of people on the so-called right feel they cannot support Palestine because of Greta Thunberg's involvement, and it's generally considered a left issue. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Personally, I think the whole left-right paradigm is long since redundant and automatically creates division. As soon as you say you're on the left, somebody's on the left, this is a left issue, half the population are alienated immediately. Or, you know, setting up a new party, your party, or it's a left party. Well, then it has to be opposed and ridiculed by people who claim they're on the right. And one of the reasons we're in that situation is that there are very few, if any, to be honest, guiding principles behind politics these days. What is politics for? What is any party for? Is it not for the amelioration of the social life of the whole of the country?
or human
is it
suffering, or
on the alleviation of human suffering. Exactly. So, we need some of these core principles to be laid down, which are nothing to do with left and right, which traditionally, of course, was all about political economy and the distribution of wealth and ownership of capital. That's the original left-right, balance. But that, to some extent, now is redundant when it's a case of, as the late, great Ian Crane used to say, humanity versus insanity.
Well, the American eagle needs two wings to fly. It needs a right and a left wing. If it has too much of either, it goes into a tailspin, which has happened on both sides multiple times. So, and this is the last time I'm going to comment on Dr. Nick Reeve, because he's put out another ridiculous comment, and this is the last one, and I'll probably have to knock this on the head. But he says, Is Max Blumenthal being amplified because now Netanyahu is a liability and they are looking to save the state of Israel? Max Blumenthal, his work has been amplified for like the last 10 plus years, 15 years. So I don't know where you washed up on the shore of the information highway here just this week, but come on, guys, it's kind of stupid. It's like this is as dumb of a comment as somebody saying, and I'm not picking on this particular person. Obviously, he doesn't know what doesn't really understand the wider scope. But these are people who say, why is all of a sudden Palestine an issue? This must be some kind of psyop. No, it's been an issue for decades. This has been a major issue globally, right there with the nuclear disarmament and everything else, since the 60s, since before most of you were born, people in our comments. But because people have just been red-pilled to it recently, they'll say, oh my God, look at all this pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas. They're calling it pro-Hamas, whatever. It must be a psyop. They're trying to co-opt us and, what? No. It's just that it's gotten so bad that it's hard to sweep it under the rug now. That's the reality of it. And yeah, there's no psyop, folks, on that. But anyway, I'll leave that there because I just can't address all these ridiculous comments. But anyway, back to the original line of questioning. I went to Basil first. Hesher, Turning Point USA. What we see when you see all of this injection of energy, money, it's almost like I'm writing the obituary of this organization right now, because it looks like it's just going to turn into something stupid and become a shell of its former self. I've seen this time and time again where they try to artificially inflate things only for them to basically, it's almost like then everyone's going to cash out, take what they can, pump it up with steroids and money, and then it'll just become like a brand at CPAC, or it'll turn into some other monstrosity, and then no one will be really following it. I see the base fracturing, and I don't think they're going to be able to bring it back together because it fractured because of real reasons, not because, and this deification of Charlie Kirk, creating this myth, is not going to make Turning Point more relevant because the issues that it broke on were real political issues. Hesher, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the bigger question, other than like what's going to happen to TPUSA, is what about MAGA? TPUSA sort of represents MAGA, and MAGA's been in a serious state of fracturization for a long time, and it was sort of pre-set up to do that. The way that MAGA 2.0 for Trump 2.0 was sort of arranged was bombastic. It was absolutely insane. We had the media tell us there were three attempts on Trump's life, one of which was equally as bewildering as what happened in Utah, maybe more so. Equal amount of nothing that we have to go on as citizens as far as forensic evidence, anything to back up the narrative from that day. And then there's the whole, October 7 schism. There's the way the PR was arranged, and like the narratives that surround everyone that ended up in the Trump cabinet was set up ahead of time. All the things they said they were going to do versus the things they are going to do. There's just been this whole like rug pull basically that was sort of like brewing in the background over things like, the way that conservatives and sort of, I don't know, podcasters and independents and people like us in some cases talked about COVID, but they all showed up 2 years late. They all showed up after all the cancellations, and they still showed up, not really taking that open goal and driving it all the way home and holding elements of government and business and state government and corporate businesses responsible, and pharmaceutical companies responsible for what has happened, politicians responsible for what has happened. None of that, well, so the whole thing almost to me feels like this was a giant, creation of a lot of anger during, between J6 and the Biden days, and then throughout the Biden days was just an incessant 24/7 ritual humiliation against, conservatives and constitutionalists and independents and people that weren't on the woke left, since we're talking about the woke right today. Like, it all just radicalized everybody so much and activated people so much, and Charlie Kirk was part of that, and Shapiro, and the whole crowd, and they got people all ramped up. And now it's like, okay, well, Epstein, nah, not so much. That's not really a thing anymore. We were wrong about that. And, we put a ribbon on every conspiracy theory that you could possibly think of from JFK. We're kind of softly doing it on 9/11 right now, but boy, did that get overshadowed. So it's kind of like I've been thinking for a while now, we're off onto some sort of new adventure here. And this, globalist adventure has the Overton window wide open for criticism of Israel. Almost feels like they're honeypotting voices on the internet to, speak up, so that there will be a nice tidy list of people that spoke up, that somebody can look at later and apply new laws and policies to, perhaps, maybe even under a Democrat president. Could you imagine if we had a Democrat president next time?
It's going to be a huge list. I think the list is beyond list. I see your point. I think it's past the honeypot level. This is a real reflection of, in fact, the public backlash is underplayed massively.
Oh yeah, it's bad. I mean, and to people's credit that are, being critical of gray zone and just kind of pointing fingers at everybody right now. If you watch kind of the like S tier, independent and alternative podcasts, like if you're watching the back and forth that are going on between Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and in particular Nick Fuentes, who is in there just, moshing big time, calling people out, pointing fingers, he's really been kind of whipping that audience up that he has, and it's growing every day.
But him and Alex, Nick Fuentes and Alex, have basically backed the government line on the Charlie Kirk assassination. Did you notice?
It's very
that?
interesting that they are. I wouldn't say either of them are backing anything. They're more doing a dance. It's more of a tango. David Icke actually criticized Alex Jones on X. I saw it last night. I don't know when he posted it, but I saw it last night, and he was talking exactly about that tactic that Alex uses, where he'll come in and he'll back a government line, or he'll back, a particular theory, or slam another theory, and then make some sort of like, escape hatch comment on it. And then he'll come back later and say, see, folks, I knew we were going to do that. I said that there might be an escape hatch on this idea, and now we're learning this. So it's like they're both able to just sort of very slyly and shrewdly sort of just oscillate between, different things on this. So I think that's really affecting a lot of people. The whole you're a Fed, you're Mossad, that whole thing is really unfortunately, it's a real thing, and we're all trying to figure out who the Fed boys are, who the glowy people are, who the intelligence people are. But history tells us it's very seldom that we're actually going to get that information. So it's sort of a dangerous game right now that's being played at the, what I mean? It kind of reminds me, Pat, of like like that level of argumentation, commentary, racialist sort of lean that we're seeing kind of banter, badmintoned around here. It reminds me of the alt-right days in the alternative media, in the independent media. People are just getting to a fervor where it's like they get so punchy fighty, and then they start getting punchy fighty amongst themselves, and all of a sudden everybody's pointing the finger, everybody's a fed boy, everybody's married to a Jewish person, everybody met their wife in Israel, which, by the way, Bear, shout out to Bear in our chat, asked Grok, where did Charlie Kirk meet Erica? And Grok says, do your own confirmations on this, but Grok says, according to public accounts, Charlie Kirk first met his wife, Erica, during a trip to Israel in 2012, organized by Christians for United Israel.
Listen, guys. I mean, look at Jared Kushner and the capture of the Trump family by marrying Ivanka, his daughter there, and Hillary Clinton, same Chelsea Clinton, Martin Mavinsky. So both Kushner and Mavinsky's dads are convicted felons, Jewish gangsters, big Zionist donors, and they're both married. So the 2016 election, Israel, both of the daughters are married to big Netanyahu allies. You see how that, and both converted to Judaism, I think. I think Chelsea did, I'm not sure, but Ivanka definitely did. But Kushner, Jared, the son-in-law, is basically the president-in-law for all intents and purposes when it comes to foreign policy. But listen, we have all these, questions ourselves, guys, because we don't know everything, but our listeners and viewers know a lot. As this comment says here, jokers for you. Jesus said repeatedly to build for-profit mega churches playing country music to support the American military empire. Very authentic Christians. It's so true, isn't it? This is what Jesus commanded. I think Ted Cruz confirmed this as well. Jesus commanded us to build for-profit mega churches, and yes, country style rock stuff. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to blow your minds, guys. And a little history lesson, because we all need to be reminded about history, right? It's important that we understand. Did you see Charlie Kirk's show is being hosted by the Daily Wire now? It's very inspirational. And I want to bring this up and share this with you guys, because you probably didn't know this, Basil. As Michael Caine always said, not many people know that. Here we go. Feast your eyes on that. War Monitor. His show was promised to them 4,000 years ago.
Yeah, I saw that. It did make me chuckle, I must admit. So yeah.
That's it. So
and somebody superimposed that overweight Israeli famously filmed saying, if I'm not going to steal it, somebody else going to steal it, over
terrible
empty chair there,
Yeah, there's Matt Walsh and Knowles. I forgot his first name. Mike Knowles, I guess. I don't know. Ben Shapiro. And then I don't know who the other guy is. But anyway, the Daily Wire's kind of tanked, isn't it? Sort of failed.
They're hemorrhaging right now. They are absolutely hemorrhaging.
There's Ruckus.
A bonanza for that other so-called free press organization who've been given the $150 million sweetheart deal to take
free
over
press.
CBS.
The so-called free press. Barry Weiss. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, Barry Weiss. What did she ever do to deserve $250 million? And now she's the head of CBS. Larry Ellison's done a hostile takeover to permanently install Barry Weiss at the top of the mainstream media. She's a Israeli campaigner masquerading as an independent journalist.
That's right.
4,000 years. Yep.
What did Barry Weiss do? We would love to tell you, Patrick, but we're still waiting for the Epstein files.
Yeah, I don't know. Not much. So there we are. Yes, folks, I know it's shocking, and I know you probably don't know these historical facts that we're sharing with you, but that's why we're here.
And of course, Larry Ellison has also bought TikTok, hasn't he? So
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people are noticing, Basil, that there's a new head of content moderation, a former IDF intelligence officer, a female, who's a rabid Zionist, probably worked for the ADL or some of these organizations before, is in charge of content moderation now. Is that what it's all about?
very much so.
They're going to
Very much so.
retroactively apply strikes to previous content, right?
We'll wait and see, you know.
That's what they've announced. New algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, they've been aware for well over a year, 18 months now, that they're losing the information war, particularly with young people, that this was particularly serious, every bit as important to Israel as the extermination of Palestinians. So they've got to be able to exterminate as many Palestinians as possible, but B, make sure that young people are fully propagandized to make this acceptable somehow, and at least eliminate. You know, Israel's always liked operating in the dark. That's why they've murdered all the journalists in Gaza, won't let any others in. And it continues to the extent that the atrocities in Gaza get pushed off the front page, even of supposedly liberal outlets like The Guardian, at every opportunity. You know, anytime there's anything at all, Trump's visit, the Boris files that came out a couple of weeks ago, any excuse to downplay, to push it off the front page, they will take, even though, you know, we've heard for decades about the events in the Second World War and what would you do if you'd been around, and, you know, how come nobody knew? They're doing it again, you know.
Trump went to Windsor Castle. Basil, I want to get your comments on the state visit and also on this, which I thought to be very sporting.
Oh, it was very funny.
They projected a picture of Jeff Epstein and Donald Trump on Windsor Castle. That's led by donkeys.
That's right.
Very, very good stunt. And 4 were arrested. We're calling that President Epstein there, pictured with Donald Trump, projected on the side of Windsor Castle. The British are calling that unauthorized activity. So there we are. I think
4 people were arrested under the Malicious Communications Act.
Extremely.
But their spokesman pointed out that they've done loads of these projections over the last couple of years, and usually have a laugh and a joke about it with the police. This is the first time anybody has ever been arrested. They put that up. There was also that famous footage of Trump and Epstein joking around on their way into a party. Some other pictures of Donald Trump with young girls. Also that famous picture of Jeff Epstein and Prince Andrew, Duke of York, taking a walk in Central Park. That was projected onto Windsor Castle as well. Caused much hilarity in these quarters anyway. So, I mean, it was the night before Trump actually arrived in Windsor, but nevertheless, hilarious and humiliating at the same time. As for the visit itself, well, it took place entirely within the walls of Windsor Castle, apart from Trump's trip to Chequers the following day for his pointless photo op with Starmer. There was a ride it was a real sort of Disney-fied version of British pageantry with the horse guards and various other guards regiments parading in front of Trump, Melania, and the King and Queen, who were standing in some sort of gazebo erected within the grounds of Windsor Castle. It looked ridiculously anachronistic as an event, I must admit. And then later Trump got his gilded carriage ride, but again, only around, didn't go anywhere, just round the Windsor Castle, like one of those, little rides for 5-year-olds that you see outside convenience stores, which don't go anywhere at all, just bounce up and down on the spot. That was about the size of it. It was abysmal. And then, of course, in the evening, this huge state banquet cost £15 million, apparently. And Trump read what I saw described as the worst speech ever delivered by an American president in history, stood there with a foolscap page of A4 and read off these pre-prepared statements. And then Charles replied with the dullest of dull speeches. I mean, all the oligarchs were there, your Sam Altmans, your BlackRock CEO, the intermarriage between senior government officials and these globalist corporate oligarchs is near complete. It used to be the case that Windsor Castle would have been filled with aristocrats, with assorted dukes, earls, and marquises, but the oligarchs are the new aristocrats. And of course, the choreography of the table, who sits next to who, and the order of precedence and importance as you go out from the sort of key players at the minister table. The whole thing's highly choreographed, you know. But there's also something really repulsive about it, because only just under a third of children in Britain live in poverty. I saw a graph in the weeks showing that the wealthiest 1% in the United States now own more wealth than the entire middle class combined. That wasn't the case 10 or 15 years ago. Likewise, income inequality in the UK is more skewed than ever before. But if you talk about a wealth tax, you're derided as a socialist, somebody with no understanding of economics, and that all the billionaires will simply go abroad if you introduce. So in other words, it's to sort of shut down the conversation. We just have to put up with Georgian levels of wealth inequality. I mean, that's where we are. We're in this sort of new techno-feudalism, aren't we, of barons and serfs. And that was on show in Windsor. It really was. And I think a lot of people found it repulsive. The reason why the whole thing took place behind closed doors, of course, was because if Trump had ventured out in public, he would have met with huge, noisy protests. There were protests in Whitehall against him. Some of the things said about him perhaps unjustified, but the majority true. And it is extraordinary the way, 2 years ago, he was dead and buried as a political figure, a combination of charges, and also just the sort of sheer buffoonery of his personalities seemed to indicate that there was no way he was going to stage a political comeback. Not only has he made a comeback, but the chattering classes in the media seem to have completely forgotten about all that, and not bothered about him, his misdemeanors or his personality defects or intellectual vapidity. He's sort of being represented as a highly credible actor on the world stage. Well, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt back in November when he talked about ending the war in Ukraine within 24 hours of being elected and bringing about peace in the Middle East. But here we are 9 months into his second term, and no sign to the end of the war in the Ukraine.
All talk, no action.
A brief truce in the Middle East, but now the slaughter continuing more than ever, doubling down.
There was never a truce. There was never a truce in the Middle East. It was all fake theater cover. Just to quickly,
the Israelis people.
Hold on, we're running short on time, so I just want to move along here. Paca Raban says, I can say that from New York to Vermont, where you can see a quote church on every corner now, they are all disappearing, and the ones that still functioning struggle financially. So they're talking about the rural America, the disappearance of churches, but there's a lot of other mega churches opening up now, and the holy business, as Basil always said, is the best business in town, which we should have our own church. I mean, really, we should. But I digress. So the reason our live stream numbers are down because we're competing against Charlie Kirk's funeral. So Alex Jones is also covering this. He's got 27,000 on X live streaming. Reuters is covering it, 30,000 on Reuters live stream watching Charlie Kirk. Wow. Benny Johnson, who's a sort of MAGA sort of bot, not the most interesting podcaster, but anyway, Yeah, that's low-level stuff. 57,000 live streaming Charlie Kirk. Mario Nafal, not to be left out of the party. He's got 75,000 of his bots live streaming and watching Charlie Kirk's funeral. And of course, Charlie Kirk himself, his account, 919,000 on the live stream watching the funeral processions in Arizona. So that is over 1.5 million accounts that I follow in terms of viewers watching that funeral, but we still managed to have 3,000 on the live stream for the Sunday Wire, so that's not too bad. So, but that's why the numbers are a little down. We're competing against this major Pope religious event, Pope level a religious event. Does it deserve it? That's another question. Last question, and this is first for Hesher and then for Ruckus. Branding Antifa a terrorist organization. This is what the White House are attempting to do. I think this is basically, they've been emboldened by the British government labeling Palestine Action terrorists. I don't like Antifa. I never have. I think it's just full of feds. But it doesn't actually have an organizational structure, so I can't see how you can call it, because it's going to make it so easy to label anything Antifa, hence anything terrorist. I think this is a slippery slope and a big problem. I say address the Fed problem first, clear that up, and then we can have a debate about what these groups are and aren't. Hesher, your thoughts on this development?
Yeah. Like, is there a good definition for any domestic terror organization? I've never seen a good definition for that. All the examples that they give us, that they try to give us, as you said, have a high Fed presence inside of them, around them, monitoring them, sometimes shaping them, that kind of thing. So no, it's ridiculous, and I hate Jimmy Kimmel. I have no problem with him getting canceled for sucking at his job, but this whole idea of like canceling people for saying something wrong or repeating something that was written in WAPO that wasn't right, like, I don't support any of this. This is all ridiculous. We have laws against those things. We wouldn't have a problem with Antifa mindsets or organizations, whatever that gray area is. We wouldn't have a problem with that if laws were enforced while they were most active between 2016 and 2021. If those people had been properly treated by law enforcement and disallowed from occupying cities and disallowed from burning federal buildings and disallowed from assaulting people and, arrested and adjudicated on normal charges that we have here in the United States, like, I don't know, assault, arson, those kind of things, murder, whatever, sabotage, then, that behavior would have died down. But that's not what happened, because it is a Fed sort of organized and run or stage crafted or manipulated group. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's something that conservatives should really take a step back and look backward in the rearview mirror and ask yourselves, what do you think about the Patriot Act? Are you cool with the Patriot Act? Because what do you think about all the things in the various NDAAs that have passed over the years? By the way, we had a new one pass while this was all going on, and hardly anybody talked about it other than the fact that there was $650 million going to Israel in it. That seemed to be the one thing that piqued some people's attention. So yeah, this whole designating groups as domestic terrorists, it's unnecessary. There's no need for it. It's oblique legally, and it's ridiculous, and it's unconstitutional and completely unnecessary. So no, don't support it. Stupid idea. Anyone that's screaming for it, you do not have a clear view of the rear view mirror, and you do not have the ability to read the tea leaves for what's going to come. If we normalize this kind of policy making.
And you better get familiar with your daily shooter signs and symptoms of the daily shooter complex. And I agree on the Jimmy Kimmel thing. What he said is not sackable, but the fact that you're allowing the government at least to be perceived, I mean, it could be some kind of a elaborate psyop to turn Jimmy Kimmel into a free speech hero, imagine. and then help the Democrats and to change the pendulum for the midterms. That's certainly in the works politically, I'm sure. But
he'll definitely get a podcast. He will definitely start podcasting. You just wait. It might happen tonight.
He'll probably, him and Colbert could team up with the other guy that lost his show. I forgot who the other, there's like 3 of them, and they could do some mega show and it'll probably be a big hit. And, it's like, this is just the way it goes. It's all about leveraging all these things to create audience interest. And there is certainly a WWF or World Wrestling style element to, because it is entertainment after all. I can't stand Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he's funny, but to be calling for the cancellation of people off TV shows and stuff because of something they said that wasn't even very offensive is kind of ridiculous. So the fact that so-called conservatives are doing a victory lap like this was some kind of great achievement is pretty sad, and it's indicative of like where people are at, politically, intellectually right now. And the right doesn't look very good at the moment. We're calling it the woke right. So they've arrived. They're here. Look out for the woke right, folks. They're now visible for everybody who was confused. Now this is what we've been talking about for the last 2 years. Ruckus, your thoughts on the Antifa situation, the Kimmel sacking, before we wrap it up. Go ahead, Ruckus.
Woke rhymes with joke. And yes, Al Capocco Elvis, I do talk. Some people say too much, but yeah, sometimes, not all the time on a program like Sunday Wire, because there's plenty of other fine folks who are intelligent and saying all the things that I would be saying otherwise. Like Hesher, he said all the things I was going to say. So all I can add to this is the fact is that Trump has stated that he wants to label Antifa as a major terrorist organization. Those 3 words in that order specifically. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm guessing it's probably ultimately not good, especially if you happen to be aligned with Antifa and you are vacationing out and about outside of the borders of America, because most of the time when you're considered a major terrorist organization from the administration of the United States, and you're, again, for now, outside the borders of the United States, that means they're going to send a drone to you and kill you with it. Just ask Obama. Anyways, yes, this is beyond a slippery slope, and I don't like where this is headed. I think that people just don't get it because they're in it right now. They feel they're doing a victory lap, like, haha, it feels good to get back at the enemy. But no, but not by doing the same thing that the supposed enemy was doing. You guys are stupid. I'm going to show everybody what this looks like. I hope it goes viral on Twitter, but I'm going to take all of these headlines, all of these tweets from the current president, the current administration about these things where they're using these vague defined things like labeling, for instance, the tweet from the president about labeling them as a major terrorist organization. I'm going to take that post. I'm going to change his name and his picture to the future president, who happens to be from the other side, which is left. Take the exact same post and replace the word Antifa with MAGA. And I'm just going to start doing that with everything. And I don't know who should be president in my fictional future. I was thinking of going with Gavin Newsom, but I thought, hey, it might be better. Maybe they'll get the message if it was somebody like Michelle Obama. And then maybe their vice president could be Gavin Newsom, and Chuck Schumer. He could be like, I don't know. We got to have like this whole fictional scenario. So like whoever's the press secretary right now, whoever that you guys think should be the press secretary in my fictional setting, just let me know and I'll do that. I'm going to do a whole series like this and just do it, hit it hard. So let me know.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, or someone mentioned the Proud Boys in the comments. I haven't heard that name in a while. I like this comment. It's a good one to, I don't like that the name is weird. Miss Kip, my immune system killed my pancreas. I really feel bad for you if that's the case, because that is serious. But there are 0 worthy enemies. That is quite a noble and profound statement. There are 0 worthy enemies. I kind of know what they're talking about there. I don't know if you guys get the vibe on that, but I kind of know where you're coming from there, Miss KMP. So yes, that's one to think about. And the gaslighting never stops. You bet it never stops. It never ends. And we're here to put out those gaslights with the fire extinguisher of truth. Final thoughts. We're going to wrap it up. Head to the exit doors here, gentlemen. It's been a very interesting conversation. Very weird week to follow up on a very wild and wacky week before that, and a very twisted and distorted week before that. Basil Valentine, your final thoughts before we go.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week coming up, because just today, of course, Keir Starmer announced that Britain formally recognizes a Palestinian state. But one of the truly worst people in Britain, Melanie Phillips, a real sort of venom-spitting Israel supporter, she asks on X, where is this Palestinian state? Starmer can't say. Where are its borders? He can't say. Does it include all the West Bank, etc.? Well, she's right about that, because where exactly is it? She talks about borders. Where are Israel's borders, of course?
Yes,
but,
exactly.
While we're witnessing the evisceration of Gaza and more land being stolen in the West Bank, it's a purely performative, symbolic act. I mean, that's the way The Guardian described it, and they're absolutely right. Is any action going to follow it? Well, it's getting a bit late in the day for that. What sort of action? The Israelis keep going on about how there will never be a Palestinian state. Well, if Britain, Canada, France, these other major players, effectively the whole world, with the exception of the United States, want to see this happen, then they've got to start taking some serious diplomatic and economic sanctions on Israel to force them, because they're not going to do it voluntarily. Others, of course, like myself, increasing numbers of people in Britain say, well, hang on a moment. Israel has, according to the latest academic estimates, slaughtered 680,000 Palestinians, including 350,000 under fives. How can a regime that perpetrates genocide on that sort of scale be allowed to continue? People talk about demilitarized Hamas. What about demilitarized Israel? As far as I'm concerned, the fingers are being pointed at precisely the wrong people. There can be no two-state solution. Who talked about the Nazi regime being able to continue after the end of the Second World War? So why should the genocide heirs of Tel Aviv be any different?
That's right. No state or regime can survive after they're normally dismantled after such war crimes. And I think Israel shouldn't be any different. Julia Hartley Brewer, who goes on these paid junket trips to Israel. Shame on you, Keir Starmer. She works for Rupert Murdoch. Shame on you, Keir Starmer. You have brought shame to our country and rewarded Hamas for the October 7th massacre. So again, it's on the Israeli Hezbollah talking points. October 7th, Hamas, as if we haven't seen this total annihilation in front of our eyes constantly. The
Zios are absolutely jumping up and down about it. They really are. So for all that it is purely sort of symbolic, nevertheless, the fact that it's irritated Israel and its supporters is a small step in the right direction. But I mean, my God, 60, 70 years late by the UK.
Let's just hear what he says very quickly, because this is historically, well, I will tell you my caveat on this in a moment, but here's Keir Starmer.
In the face of the growing horror in the Middle East, we are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution. That means a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state. At the moment, we have neither. Ordinary people, Israeli and Palestinian, deserve to live in peace, to try to rebuild their lives free from violence and suffering. That's what the British people desperately want to see. Yet, almost 2 years after the barbaric attacks of October the 7th,
get lost.
Hostages are still held by the terrorists of Hamas.
No, listen, and this is, you guys, this is part of the big lie. It's going on about the hostages held by Hamas, the terrorists, blah, blah, blah. The Israelis have 10,000 Palestinian hostages, 10,000. And this guy and everybody like him will never mention that. They conveniently leave that out. Then that's why the hostages were taken and many of those are soldiers and reservists, okay, were taken because Israel and the Palestinians have routinely exchanged hostages over the years. It's seen as a method of getting your people out. And again, this is pure propaganda by Keir Starmer, omitting the obvious part why negotiations broke down before, because Israel would not release any of the anything near the 10,000 hostages that were being requested by the other party. So this is total gaslighting. I'll let him finish a little bit and I'm going to cut him off.
Recent images show the hostages suffering and emaciated. Hamas even refuse to release all the bodies of the dead.
It's not true.
And again, that's what the Israelis do. They don't release the bodies of dead Palestinians that they've tortured to death in their gulag. So, you know.
Emaciated? He's talking about emaciated?
Why are they emaciated, Keir?
How about the millions of Palestinians that are emaciated because you're forcing a food and water and electricity and aid blockade now for going on how long? How many years now? I mean, and he's talking about hostages. The reason they're emaciated is because Israel's blocking food. What planet are these people on? What kind of people are, what ignorance, the idiocy? What are we dealing with here? How can a prime minister make such a statement and ignore the obvious?
I have met British families of the hostages. I see the
leave it
torture
out.
that they endure each and every day. Pain that strikes deep in people's hearts across Israel and here in the United Kingdom.
There's a genocide. There's a Holocaust happening. This guy is completely owned and operated by the lobby. You see the terror in his eyes. You guys, that is fear of the lobby. In his eyes, if he puts a foot wrong, they will crush him like they crushed Jeremy Corbyn. That's the reality. He has a job to do and he's going to deliver it. And it doesn't matter if it corresponds to reality or not. Anyway, Basil, I didn't mean to go on that diatribe, but you brought up the Starmer. Let me hold on.
Understandable.
Hold on. Let me finish. That he says we formally recognized a Palestinian state. When we see it inked, we see it into law, then we can discuss that. This is all performative right now. This is all performative. We'll see. Because if you did, then there's no way that you could allow by international law, British law, or any other law for the Israelis to do what they're doing and for Britain to be supplying them with arms to do it. Period. End of story. Full stop. What else can we say? Why this isn't being brought up by him in this speech is quite breathtaking. And so I just see this as just the worst, most craven political theater you can imagine. Wow. Unbelievable. Ruckus and Hesher, your final thoughts before we wrap it up.
I think I've said a lot this week on the matter, and I'll be keeping a close track. I do want to do a deep dive into the history of Turning Point USA because there are some weird anomalies going on with their founding and how they managed to miraculously survive during the lockdown time as other businesses and nonprofits were suffering. So that's interesting. Apparently 10 anonymous donors saved their butts. I'd like to do a little research into that. And I'd also like to learn a little bit more about one Bill Montgomery, who is the other guy who started Turning Point USA. No one's talking about this guy, and there's very little information currently online about him, whereas you can learn everything you want to know about Charlie Kirk, including what he probably had for breakfast before he was unfortunately taken from us. So thanks for having me, Patrick. I'm sure we'll be talking about all the new things coming up. I'll be discussing some of this stuff on Weaponized News alongside Sam Cheney. Of course, go to Alternate Current Radio for the Daily Ruckus. And for Boiler Room, which we usually do on Thursday nights. Hesher will tell you all about that. But that's where we'll be doing some more of this roundtable analysis as it happens before we come back together here for another Sunday Wire, Lord willing. So thanks for having me, Patrick.
Thank you. And again, Hesher, host of the Boiler Room. You've got programs timing this week. If you give our listeners
yeah, absolutely. We just finished Boiler Room last Thursday night. That's up at the website, alternatecurrentradio.com. It's also sitting there on our Rumble channel under Boiler Room, our YouTube channel under Alternate Current Radio, my X account under @Hesher Media. So you can find anything that you've missed in the Boiler Room over there. And you can expect us to be live on Thursday night this week, probably around 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern time. And if you follow us on, if you join our Discord, you get notifications about when things go live and when new posts go up and all that good stuff. So we recommend you do that as well. Yeah, that's it for me, man. I have a lot more to say on this, but, you know, I think we've done a pretty good job today. And at this point in the game, I don't really think it's super helpful to get too far down in the weeds with the video forensics and all that. It's just a absolute quagmire right now. So I'm kind of just hanging back, and I'm noting and bookmarking all the anomalies and strange things and, you know, various takes, good takes, bad takes, all that stuff. I'm doing my best to categorize all that and, you know, keep it at hand. But, you know, I guess the last thing I'll say is you shouldn't feel bad if you have an opinion or a theory or whatever. You know, if people don't like it, tough crap, you know, because it's like Patrick said in a video from one of his speeches that he posted recently on his social media. The people making the claim are the ones that have the responsibility to prove the claim. And that is right now, all the claims that we're hearing are essentially coming from the FBI, the federal government, the Utah governor, and everything else. So, you know, if you think MAGA did it, if you think Israel did it, if you think Mossad did it, if you think the FBI did it, you know what I mean? Like, whatever you think, you're totally allowed to think that right now. You have been put in a situation where you have to fill in the blank, where you, as a citizen of a supposed, here in America at least, constitutional republic, are legally being, you know, legally with an L, being propagandized to. So the environment, the nasty environment that we're speaking in right now, all of us, if it's politically, if it's about Charlie Kirk, if it's about right-left politics, that has been thrusted upon us. That has been something that we didn't ask for. That's something that we shouldn't have, but it is what we have. So, you know, have at it. If you want to have a theory about it, go for it. Go for it. Just know that, like most of us, you're only going to be able to take it to the Occam's razor level and then sit right there with it, right? We're looking at magic bullets here. We're looking at vaporizing towers here. You know, we're looking at echoes of so many things that we've seen before. They start construction on that place right away. People are pulling SD cards out of HD cameras right away. What is the deal with the blood? What is the deal with the projectile? You know what I mean? It's just too much, and it's meant to be too much. And there's meant to be a thread that every single one of us can pull on, an outrage thread that goes against what we think probably happened, as well as you know, a pump up thread to, you know, for your confirmation bias. So we as a planet, as a nation, have been put in this situation yet again, where we're being told this is the narrative and you can't question it. No. The narrative has no proof to it. So you have to question it, and you have to have some grace for other people that are questioning it too, no matter what angle they're coming from. And what would Charlie want? He would want us to talk about it. He would want us to allow other people to try to prove us wrong. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah, that's a good point to leave on. I want to thank all of you gentlemen for participating in this.
Can I just do a shout out for my show tomorrow?
Oh, definitely. Go ahead, Basil.
Yeah, I'm back on YouTube and X, 1 p.m. UK time, 8 a.m. in New York, Monday through Thursday, with a daily news digest and more often than not a guest. So that's live tomorrow. Unprecedented TV on X and YouTube. Ascending Order with Basil Valentine.
Is that on unprecedented TV?
Yeah, but it's YouTube. So if you search
Okay.
under Basil Valentine Unprecedented TV, you'll find it there. 1 o'clock London time.
Okay. Ascending Order with Basil Valentine.
That's right. Yes.
I hope you can get your old X account back, Basil. That would be nice.
That's going to happen, I'm sure.
Well, they
You
gave Gavin McGinnis his X account back the other day. I mean, compare some of the things you've said with some of the things that he said before he got removed, and he thanked a list of S tier X accounts for, pressuring Elon to get him back on. So the whole thing is very weird.
If I don't get an instant reaction this week, then I will call upon support to help get me back.
We'll try to mobilize the big guns for you, Basil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck with that. Basil Valentine, Bryan McClain, aka Hesher, Adam Clark, aka Ruckus. I've tagged Hesher Media and AC_Wordslinger on my post on X, so that's how you can follow Hesher and Ruckus. I don't know what your handle is on X, or your current handle is. I know your other account got nuked for going after Netanyahu's chief propagandist, which you did valiantly, but then you fell in battle there. The Israeli cancel machine shut down Basil's main account over a year ago. So he is a veteran of the information wars. He should get a medal. Should get you a little medal, like Charles and William have all these medals on their jackets. You notice that?
Yeah.
All the combat medals they have. Yeah. Basil needs. We're going to organize a medal for you. A special one for you.
Okay.
That you can pin on your jacket, and people point at it and say, "Oy vey, where did you get that?" They will notice your medal, Basil, as a free speech warrior. Yes. Okay. Good luck with that, Basil. We're joking, of course, because we're always joking, because it's absolutely crazy and insane what's going on. There's a lot of censorship still going on, folks. It's not a free speech platform on X and all these other ones. There's always cancellations going on. A lot of pressure coming. TikTok as well is going under a major overhaul. Larry Ellison and the Zionist lobby have seized control of TikTok, basically. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But anyway, that's going on. More censorship to come, but they're not going to be able to stem the tide of truth and of realization, and the fact that people are waking up to what's going on. Maybe, I hope it's not too late to save a few million Palestinian lives. Let's hope not. And maybe, who knows, maybe this move by some of these European countries might trigger some kind of a impasse. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, guys. To be honest, I'm very black-pilled and cynical on this issue. But anyway, everyone has to keep the pressure on, never give up. If you can change the public opinion just a little bit, just a millimeter, that might be able to change the manufacturing of consent, or the ability to do that by governments, states, and so forth. So all is not lost. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the Sunday Wire this week.
Thank you.
Appreciate your hard work and your diligence in pursuing the truth. We're trying hard. It's very difficult these days with all the information, the confusion that's going on. So I tip my hats. You guys are on the front line of the propaganda wars and the gaslighting and everything else. So stay with it. Keep up the great work. We'll see you soon. All the best, gentlemen. And that's all we got time for, folks. It's been a full English breakfast today on the Sunday Wire, or American breakfast if you're going by American time. But these are important times. Anyway, we'll see what we have lined up. We've taken a little hiatus from the midweek wire because we've been traveling. It's been a real busy time on the road. We will kickstart the midweek wire again, and we'll have something for you next Sunday as well. Although I'll be traveling next Sunday, we will probably going to do a broadcast. More on that later. So just stay tuned to the normal channels, and we shall see you very soon in short order. Take care, everybody. I appreciate you guys again, everybody in the comment sections, good and bad comments. We like the engagement nonetheless. And so thank you for joining us all around. It's been a fantastic episode 561 of the Sunday Wire. I hope to see you guys again next week. Visit 21stcenturywire.com for daily reports. There's some absolute incredible reports here, thanks to our Global Affairs Department, and there'll be new features coming out soon. And of course, the archives of the Sunday Wire, if you want to binge, listen, watch, it's all there up on the tab. We'll be organizing one of these for the Midweek Wire as well. And also, please support and donate us. Subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. That's one way you can support us. We really need your help to not only grow, but to sort of maintain the direction that we're taking this media outlet. A lot of you guys are happy with the way things are going. We want to do a lot more. We need your help to keep doing what we're doing, but also to expand as well. That's all we've got time for today. Take care, everybody. And in the meantime, before we break on the outro, enjoy the music of Red Rumble, our friends, fantastic band, and an amazing video as well. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man and other man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power no matter what. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gamble your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies. Truth is the crime will turn to dust. Well-designed misery to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top to bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see we got 'em? Stay in power no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gamble your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. We've captured rights. Feudals our time will turn to dust. To dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty. People as commodity, cheer on war atrocity. No